Hello and welcome to this episode of My Head in the Cloud. Today we're going to be reviewing the Lenovo ThinkPad T540p. So as you can see, today we have a guest on the show. This is my brother Kyle, and what did you just get recently?
So I just got this new laptop. I was in need of a laptop. You helped me shop for one. We're going to just go quickly over kind of a hardware overview and then give our thoughts on it so far.
And new is almost a double meaning, because not only is this new to you, but this is new in the line.
Right, yeah. So this just came out in November 2013. We're filming this in December, so this is brand new. So really quickly, the reason that I went with this laptop, I wanted something that would run Ubuntu well. Not all machines work equally with it. I went with Lenovo because as a company, they have a track record of their machines working well with GNU Linux. So that's why I went with Lenovo. I went with ThinkPad just because I know they have a history of being very durable
You
machines.
had one before.
I used one. Yeah. So just quickly to give an overview here. Starting with the top, they've left it nothing special to say about that. As we go just on the sides quickly here, we've got VGA, two USB, one of them's 3.0, one of them's 2.0. Seems strange to me that they left 2.0s on here instead of just doing all 3.0.
Almost all the laptops we looked at still have that.
Right. Card reader, and then a combination headphone microphone jack. I wish they had the separate one still like they used to on the old machines, but that's just kind of the direction everybody's going now, is making it one jack. Actually, let's do the back next.
Just got some grills for the fan here. We've got the new rectangular plug. It used to be round, right?
Yeah, it used to be round. So that's just one of those annoying little things that they seem to change for no reason. So if you've had these computers in the past and you have some old cables, you won't be able to use any of them because they went from circular to rectangular.
Battery sticks out. You said you went for the 9-cell instead of the 6-cell.
Yep. So I knew it would stick out, but it doesn't stick out much at all. And I think it's worth putting up with to get a third more battery life. The battery
was amazing, actually, for just that little addition. It seemed like it was, the meter on there, you said, is more, estimated, but it was good.
Yeah, of course, it depends on what you're using it for, but average stuff, I think you get, around 7 or 8 is like what it's advertised as, so pretty good.
Just a normal LAN port there, plugging into your network. We've got 2 more ports here, again, a 3.0 next to a 2.0.
USB, yeah.
We've got a lock port here. You can put a Kensington lock or something in there. And then the DVD drive, which was disappointing that we couldn't get Blu-ray on here.
Right,
We looked and looked, and there was no option to ever put that in there.
Yeah, it seems strange they're not offering Blu-ray in end of 2013 here. And then smart card and express card places if you want those. Just on the bottom, quickly, there are panels here so that you can get at the RAM and the hard drive easily. One of my other criteria was that it be as future-proof as a laptop can be. So one of the things that means is that you need to be able to get at the components like this to upgrade it, so I appreciate how easy they made that.
We've got 2 drainage ports here. Something interesting when you're shopping, you find out pretty quickly that Lenovo builds these keyboards on the ThinkPad that you can pour a bottle of water through them. It'll come right out these holes here. You can see one here and one here. You've got the docking station here for the ThinkPad workstation dock, where you can just set the laptop on there, plug in. It's a really neat feature. And then just 2 latches for the battery.
So overall thickness is just over an inch. It's 1.09 inches. Not ultra thin, but it's not an ultrabook. So I was fine with the dimensions in that sense. The weight, it's 5.5 pounds. Again, for a standard laptop, seemed fine to me in terms of weight.
Right. It was sitting on your lap. Neither you or I had much of a complaint. It didn't feel heavy.
Right. Yeah. One other thing to comment here about on the bottom, these are the speakers. They have moved these now, so they're just like these slots right here. It seems to be a strange design to me. It doesn't really sound like the sound is coming from these anyway. In fact, if you cover these up while you're playing something, you don't really hear a difference.
Yeah,
so it sounds like the sound's just coming from inside the laptop.
It's
not terrible sound. It's not the greatest sound I've ever heard either. It's just average sound.
All right, now, when we were shopping around for a while, we looked for 1080p webcams, couldn't find any. So this is a 720p camera with dual microphones here, and we were not impressed with it. Not at all. The test shots we took a little bit, very grainy, a lot of noise going on. There was always a sound. You pointed that out to me before I'd even tried it. You were like, listen right away, and I could hear it immediately. There was that almost ringing constantly. No matter what you did to cancel out sounds in the room, there was just always that you just couldn't get clear audio out of it. Just
Right. So I was surprised with how bad the webcam and the microphones are. So if you need good webcam and microphone, you're going to have to look elsewhere. It's just surprisingly bad, I think.
The display, you opted for the 1080p. We had the option, or you had the option, I should say, to have the standard 13 by 768 for your just normal laptops. Then you went to full HD, and then now they also offer on this model the 3K IPS. You didn't want to go that far because,
Well, first of all, I think the first option was 720. You had 720, 1080, or 3K, and the 3K IPS. A lot of people have been choosing that one, and they've been saying some good things about it. I didn't want it just because the usual complaint that a lot of the web and apps and that sort of thing is not made yet for the super high resolution, so the text looks small, you have to zoom in on a lot of things just to make it look usable. And I just didn't have a need for super high resolution, and I didn't want it to be an extra drain on the battery. So
the extra cost.
And the extra cost, yeah. So,
quite a bit of a bump from this to the other one.
Right. So I figured full HD 1080 is enough for me. The screen, again, I would just say is average. It's not terrible. I didn't think it was great either. It's not the best display I've ever seen. It's anti-glare. I think they did a good job on that anti-glare part of it. The viewing angle is not very good.
There were multiple times where you would be sitting on this chair and I'd be, say, in the recliner on the couch, and just that tiny difference of height shouldn't make a big difference, but it did. We'd be trying to watch Hulu together, and it'd be like, oh, you gotta tilt the screen a little bit, and then one of us couldn't see. And so,
right, yeah, you have to have this at just the right angle, otherwise the whole thing gets washed out. Yeah, this is a display feature this is a feature that they did keep. This kind of a classic ThinkPad feature. I don't know how many people need that, but display goes all the way back.
Okay, keyboard. Going on to things they kept or changed. They changed the keyboard. It's now this chiclet style. I'm used to chiclet. I have chiclet on my Chromebook and some other things, but how did you think it compared to your previous experience with the other ThinkPad?
Yeah, so this is not the first ThinkPad, or even the first model in the T-Series to have the new keyboard. I don't like it as much as the old keyboard. Reviews are kind of mixed on it, but I haven't really seen anyone, I don't think, who says, yeah, this is a lot better than the old keyboard. So I'm not really sure why they changed it. I don't think the keys travel as far. It's probably pretty close, but it's all right. I would have preferred they stayed with the old keyboard style.
Kept the track point here in the middle.
Yeah, they kept the iconic track point.
And then this one came with backlight.
Yeah, so the keyboard in here is backlit. You have either the low or high. I don't think they did a very good job on the backlighting. More light bleeds around the keys, and not even in a uniform way, but I mean, you see the individual LEDs.
Specifically, yeah, because this is almost off-center, you could say. The mouse trackpad you can see is over, the keyboard's over to fit this number pad. You really do get a lot of bleed from the number pad, and also specifically, this first set of function keys and the escape key, really, I felt bled through there about as bad for my left eye as you said that this bled through to your right eye. I've used some backlit keyboards. I've never had one bleed this much around the spacing in the keys.
Yeah, I mean, it bleeds enough that it seems like when it's on high, it's actually distracting from your vision.
Yeah. So from there we go on to, when I use it personally, this is the feature that killed this laptop, and I think you said that this was probably what kills it for you too, is this new trackpad.
Yeah, undoubtedly the worst part of this whole computer is the trackpad. Now this is a controversial change. This is one of the things that they changed from the classic ThinkPad T-Series design. It used to be a regular trackpad, granted it was quite a bit smaller than this, with 2 discrete buttons underneath and 3 discrete buttons above it for use with the track point. Now they've made this into a 5-click.
And that old one worked great. Like
right, yeah.
whether you use the track point or not, it was a great. I mean, it was your standard.
It was just standard, yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
They've tried to integrate 5 different click areas in here. So you've got left click and right click up here for use with the track point, and then this is either scroll or center click. I can't remember. Something related to that. And then you've got left click and right click here for use with the regular trackpad. It tries to lock itself so that if it detects that you're using the track point, it will lock from doing these clicks and vice versa. Of course, you can tap on it like a normal trackpad, and 2 fingers does right click and that sort of thing.
Make your computer easier to use.
Your computer will speak
Windows
to you
will
if you
read
want.
and scan.
All right.
But as you just saw there, the thing that's really strange about this is one giant button. So the whole thing, I mean, that's not that unusual.
Yeah. It's not the strangest that it's how far this
How far
button
it
sinks.
travels. Yeah.
It is. When you first told me that when you were shopping, you said, they really changed up the thing. It sinks now. I was like, well, all of them sync. No, they usually click. This thing actually is almost like traveling like a key on your keyboard. It sinks into there.
Yeah, it feels like it's traveling almost as much as these keys. It's not, but it's traveling a lot. It's so big that it kind of travels. It's not uniform.
The biggest problem with that too is not only does it just feel weird, but double clicking, and not intentionally. When there was times where we were watching a video, you would want to pause it. You would push to click down. It was a quick push. It wasn't like I was stopping then clicking. It was one click. It would detect my finger when it first touched. You can just tap on this thing. It would detect that, and then it would detect the actual physical travel click. So it would literally pause the video, or if it was playing already, it would play the video, and you would literally have to either stop and be very light or be very deliberate to push it down there. That was just a problem. It just seemed to click, and then also it just didn't seem to detect clicks sometimes, especially when you were tapping. It would just be dead zones.
Right. So that's the real thing I want to say is that it's one thing to just be different and something you have to get used to, and it's maybe annoying at first, but after a while, your hand-eye coordination, you just get used to it. The real problem is that it's actually failing to register the correct kind of clicks, even when you're doing it properly. So it's missing right clicks. It's not, just two-finger clicking and it won't register as a right click, or you're pressing in the right click area and it doesn't register it. So it's just failing on a mechanical, technical level. For that reason, it's virtually unusable.
And the problem I had, you didn't have this problem as much as I did, and I don't know if it's a software bug or what it was, but you saw multiple times where I would be scrolling and it would simply jump to the top of a page. Now, maybe that's just specific to this unit. I haven't seen anyone else actually talking about it yet, but that drove me up a wall. So who knows are my fingers scrolling until it hits a dead zone and it thinks I didn't scroll, so it goes back to the top of the page or what, but that drove me up a wall. But this is a huge part of the user experience on a laptop, is the trackpad.
Right, so some of the other stuff I'm not all that happy about, like I already mentioned, the webcam, why USB 2.0 still, why no Blu-ray. All that, though, I could put up with. The thing is, the things that you're constantly interacting with are the screen, the keyboard, and the trackpad. Since I already said the screen is not my favorite, the keyboard is not my favorite, although they're both all right, and the trackpad is terrible, that kind of does it in.
Right, you could get away with watching a movie, you could get away with typing a paper, but both of those are probably going to involve that, and you cannot get away with that. It's just...
So I could go on and on about this, but in short, the new trackpad, you can read a lot of people complaining about it online. Some people are apparently okay with it, but for me, especially when just on a technical hardware level, it's not working properly and consistently, it's a deal breaker.
And then the last feature we can talk about in here, I should say two more, would be this is the fingerprint reader. You opted for that. It was like another $10 or $15. Cool little feature. I've had these before. And then the latches. You can see there's no slots here. They used to have latches on the ThinkPad. Another thing they changed is a little...
Right, yeah. So one of the things that's been a part of the design for a long time has been a latch down here. No latch, not even any magnets or anything to keep it closed. So there's just
hinges.
Just the
which are good hinges.
Stress on the hinges. So not exactly sure why they'd get rid of the latch, but they did. Another little thing that they got rid of is the Think Light. So ThinkPad users will know there used to be a Think Light that would just
illuminate the whole area. It was literally an LED, kind of like aiming down there.
Right.
It was a really interesting feature because you didn't see that on anything else.
Right.
Only
it was kind of a
ThinkPads.
strange thing, but people got used to it and found uses for it. So in general, you can see that they've made some changes to what has otherwise been a very consistent design over a long time. I think the only one of those changes that I liked, like I said, was the flipping of the logos, which is a minor thing. They also made the eye light up so you can tell when it's on and when it's sleeping and that sort of thing. Otherwise, all the other changes, making it a shade lighter in color, changing the keyboard, changing the trackpad, removing the Think Light, removing the latch, all those things to me were actually going in the wrong direction, getting worse.
All right, now for this model in particular, you can customize it on the Lenovo website. You put a i7 4700MQ 4th generation with a 6 megabyte cache for processor in here. You had 8 gigabytes of RAM, a 1 terabyte standard hard drive, and Intel HD 4000 graphics. They seem to play pretty well. You'd agree with me though to say that the processor at times felt a little bit sluggish.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't used it enough yet to really comment very well on the processor, but there were times when it just seemed like this is a brand new computer, i7.
Very powerful.
It should be really snappy, and there were times when it wasn't, but maybe that was Windows 8. Maybe it was some of these apps being run for the first time. Maybe it's just too much bloatware from Lenovo on here, killing parts of it. So
So those are the specs. And with those specs and the other things that we saw, this machine was, it's about a $1,500 machine. You got it during the Christmas special for...
well, I got it for like $1,300, and that was like a 15% discount. So yeah, it's going to be somewhere around the $1,500 mark. But of course, it's going to change a lot depending on your configuration, whether what display you want and what processor you want. So it can range quite a bit.
And now, it wasn't a bad price for this machine. I mean, honestly, besides the webcam not where we wanted it to be, not a huge killer, the keyboard... I mean, it was a sturdy machine, and like I think you really got what you were paying for. It's just that we would have liked to pay for something else.
Yeah, so part of what you're paying for was something like this, because when we were looking, it was like we could get similar specs, at least in terms of processor, RAM, hard drive, for less. Part of what you're paying for, though, when you get a ThinkPad, especially in the T series, is
magnesium roll cage.
The roll cage. They're put through military spec testing for dust and vibration and drop tests, and has that spill resistant keyboard. All those things that just make them built like a tank, where they're really sturdy things. Even though I take very good care of my gear, I wanted that just kind of security of knowing that it's just rock solid build. So that's part of what you're paying for with it.
And so it's not that we didn't like it, but you're actually doing what with this machine then?
Yeah, so in the end, my verdict, this might not be a surprise, especially because of the trackpad, but I am going to return it, send it back. It, the things like the USB 2.0 ports, not having the option of Blu-ray, not the greatest screen in the world.
The trackpad.
Well, I was going to say all those other things I could have put up with. But the trackpad was the deal breaker. The three things you're constantly interacting with are the screen, the keyboard, and the trackpad. No matter what you're doing. These two weren't my favorite, but they were fine. I was okay with them. But this was the deal breaker. So I'm going to send it back. If I could get the internals of this computer with the body and older features of the older computers in this series, that would be my ideal.
Now, and that's not a terribly surprising thing, because when we purchased this, it was right after it had come out, and there were no reviews on Amazon, there were no reviews on Lenovo, there was just nothing you could find about it. And now it actually has 9 reviews on Lenovo with 2.5 stars. So it's not that uncommon that people really aren't loving the changes Lenovo's made. But needless to say, we hope to have you back when you get the new one, whichever one you end up getting, and then we can review that as well. But
definitely, that
about wraps it up for the Lenovo ThinkPad T540p. Solid machine, but some definite areas that need some real work to be, live up to the ThinkPad name, I would say.